campaign yesterday in Eldos. Operation Restore, Operation Lukisa, Operation Lungisa, Operasi Herstel, and we have made maximum impact. We are not lazy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Speaker, could you let us know where we should knock? Could we get an email address sent via the speakers with the email address of the knocker?
Councillor,
thank you.
Please sit down. Thank you. Thank you, MMC. Member in charge, Councillor Ndlela.
Thank you, Speaker. The committee requests that the council note the first quarter and the second quarter performance report together with the oversight reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 47.2, 48.12, 49.5 and 53.12, and on pages 50.2, 51.12, 52.5 and 54.13. Are the items agreed to? Thank you.
We're in item 55, which is a performance assessment report for the City of Johannesburg Legislature Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Read together with item 56, which is a performance assessment report for the City of Johannesburg Legislature Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also read with item 57, which is an oversight report of OCOL on the 2022-23 first quarter budget and performance assessment report of the legislature of the City of Johannesburg for the period July to September 2022. Also read with item 58, which is an oversight report on OCOL on the 2022-23 second quarter budget and performance assessment report of the legislature of the City of Johannesburg for the period October to December 2022. Also read with item 59, which is a performance assessment report for the Office of the Ombudsman for the 2022-23 financial year for the period of October to December 2022. And all the above items read together with item 60, which is an oversight report of the OCOL 2022-23 second quarter budget and performance assessment report of the legislature of the City of Johannesburg and Office of the Ombudsman for the period October to December 2022.
Thank you. May I call on the member in charge, Councillor Rafferty?
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I rise to table the report of the Legislature Department as read out by the Acting Secretary. Just a few concerns that were raised by the committee during this 2 quarters. Repairs and maintenance remains a major concern. Even when you come into this chamber in the morning, before you park your car, you must check where you park it. With that also, the health and safety aspect, Acting Secretary, we still holding our breath and waiting to have then evacuation plans with councillors in the event of anything happening, that we know what we need to do. So that must take priority. In terms of councillor arrears, still concerning as it's still very high. We plead with councillors, and I've said this previously, we can't expect residents of the City of Johannesburg to keep their accounts up to date, but we as councillors are failing to do so. I'm requesting that whips, the respective whips of the parties also assist in this regard so that we all get to comply with what we need to do. In terms of councillors' protection, we still see there's a few councillor attacks, protests happening, and there's still no clear indication of where do councillors report to, who do you call? That position is still not clear, and we need to get that specific one correct for when councillors are in distress. It might be a joke now until it knocks at your door. Councillor compliance in terms of public meetings, as we have seen over the 2 quarters, we are still behind. It means that we do not account to our residents as we're supposed to. In terms of attendance to Section 79 meetings, Chair of Chairs, still a major concern, and once again we call on WIPs to please assist. Because if you've read through the report, you will also see there's a number of committees that could not sit because councillors are not attending those particular meetings. And here I remind councillors, that is what you're getting paid for. Programs of the Student Council, the reporting thereof is lacking in these reports. We don't know what they are doing, how do we support them as councillors, and how does the legislature department actually support the Student Council. So we want to see those particular issues being dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rafferty. Councillor Mokoena. Councillor Christians, please proceed before the next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I hoped the chairperson would have corrected some stuff, but I'd just like to ask from you, are we talking to reports of the legislature or the legislature department? I didn't know the legislature had gone under the executive. Thank you.
Relax, Christians. You had your opportunity.
Councillor Christians, the items are clear on the list. The items which he was speaking to, which Councillor Rafferty was speaking to, are clear. Thank you. Councillor Mokoena. Hi. Okay, we move on. Councillor Edward.
Thank you, Speaker. Good afternoon, Action SA Caucus Leader, Funzi Ngobeni, and all protocols observed. Taking down the out of order sign doesn't fix the problem. That is a quote from Frank Sonneberg. Residents of Johannesburg, I stand before you with a very heavy heart today. Speaker, how are we to care for 6 million residents of our city when we are unable to care for the few residents who occupy this very same city metro building? How do we deliver services to 6 million residents of Johannesburg when we have consistently failed to deliver basic services to ourselves? Councillors, ask yourselves, how safe do you think you are in this building? A good picture. Today it's Wednesday. As you drove through, you are first taken aback by the slab in the parking lot caving in, resulting in leaks of water that is mostly likely to stain or destroy your car, while the impact of your car is still fresh in your mind. Then you are faced with a non-functional ablution blocks, from a parking lot that resembles a mini dam to a risk of a building collapse, and then with dysfunctional elevators. Speaker, the 29 million that your office has spent today trying to address the decay of this building through unplanned repairs and maintenance is not sufficient to assure us that councillors are safe in these council chambers. Speaker, Honorable Mayor, can you be honorable enough to assure us of safety in this building right now? I am sure that the response will be given with uncertainty. The state of the Metro Center is appalling, disgusting, and unsafe for human habitation. Or should it be described as a ticking bomb waiting to go off? The state of this building has fallen on deaf ears since 2017. An assessment report by Ntsika Architects on the 25th of May 2017 detailed the current architectural defects, followed by an assessment report on the state of the facilities, audit and surveys of this same metro building. In 2019, it was facilitated by JPC through professional engineering companies, which we paid as a city. Both these reports reflected defaults, architectural defects. There are numerous shrinkage cracks on the slabs that are found in our parking lot, with the failure cracks were noted around the isolated columns. The cracks, if not corrected at an early stage, can seriously compromise the structural integrity of the building, which is in the basement, and result in abrupt collapse of the building. This requires urgent attention. 4 years later, no urgency has been demonstrated in implementing corrective measures. Recommendations from the professional team have also fallen on deaf ears for years. It was recommended that the safety shortcomings of this building needed urgent attention. The metro buildings do not comply with the prescribed building regulations, norms, and standards. The city has not implemented a comprehensive and a structured strategy that ensures that the building reaches economic lifespan in a safe and habitable condition. According to construction regulations 2014, stipulates that the owner should maintain the structure in such a manner that it remains safe for continued use. The report further states that, and I quote, "The Metro Center building needs to be made safe and compliant to mitigate the worst case scenario playing out. If all the defects, I close the quotes. If all the defects highlighted in these reports are not attended to, life could be lost and the city of Johannesburg could face dire consequences." Finally, it was recommended that the city has two options: to implement a maintenance and remedial work to preserve the building and extend its useful life. Secondly, to demolish and replace the entire Metro Center building. Speaker, sooner or later, reality will catch up with us. Let me remind this House of the tragedies of Lily Mine, where mine workers were warned in advance that structural defects can lead to disaster, which happened on that fateful morning of the 5th of February 2016, when the lump room container collapsed with 3 mine workers still trapped underground 7 years on. Or when in another event when Jacques Fontaine mine owners were also warned, but whose warning fell on deaf ears. We all have witnessed.
Your time is expired. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Molise.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to greet the leader of caucus of the African National Congress, Councillor Dada Morero, and greet all the ANC MMCs. Let me also take this opportunity to greet the one and the only Chief Whip, Nyamagaishi. Uyayedwa. It is for me to stand up on behalf of the African National Congress on these burning issues and to highlight that even today we still see councillors not being taken serious, especially those in townships. No amount of safety that has been provided. We are saying, as the African National Congress, we are noting the report, and that's how we are going to leave it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Molise. Councillor Machaba?
I keep getting, more to the back in the house, but it's more comfortable here. Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to you, Speaker. I would like to extend greetings to the Executive Mayor, but I must comment that although I'm not impressed at all by the Executive Mayor since he came into office, I am happy that at least he's a young mayor. It really is about that time that young people, regardless of their affiliations, start to occupy important, strategic, and powerful roles at different levels of society, especially in executive governance. And as such, Executive Mayor, in my mom's home language, Shangan, ungayiphoyili, which simply means you must please not reduce the chances of other young people to occupy the position that you are by continuing your poor and bad performance so far. But more significantly, I'd like to acknowledge my caucus leader and my provincial chairperson, Councillor Funzi Ngobeni. Greetings to all councillors in the House and especially to the residents of the city of Johannesburg. Acting Speaker, I rise on item 56, which is a performance assessment for the Legislature Department for the period October to December 2022. There are many points to touch on that report, but because of time, half of Action SA will only deal with one issue. I note that the Speaker is not here. So, Acting Speaker, I'd like to address this directly to you with the hope that the Speaker will be listening. Number one, the fact, as per the report, is that in extending the quarterly target of only 10 events from the Speaker's office, it is found that Speaker Makubele has actually attended a whopping 25 events in a mere quarterly period. Speaker, where do you get this time? And while this might indicate hard work on your part, but it can raise eyebrows on who are the beneficiaries of these funded events. Could you also potentially be pushing your personal political brand, more like for you to ensure within yourself, in your own hearts?
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted clarity. Which speaker is beautiful that the councillor is referring to? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the councillor was clear when he commenced prior to speaking about what he's speaking about, that he was hoping to address the Speaker, but now unfortunately, please proceed. You've got like 30 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Presiding Speaker. But in closing to you, absent Speaker, I would like for you to ensure that you are not doing all of these events as a showcase of alternative, which is what that improvements must immediately be felt as we move forward. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And on behalf of the Chair of Chairs, I humbly requested Councillor Mhlongo to speak on my behalf in my capacity as Chair of Chairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. On behalf of COC, Chair of Chairs, we note the comments and...
Councillor Rafferty.
Thanks, Acting Speaker. Just for Councillor Christians, still love you, my brother. Salute. As we continue with our Operation Restore, I also want to bring to the attention that here in Metro Center, accessibility for people with disability remains also a major concern. Also, I've been reliably informed there's a few ward committee members that has not been. Noting the observations, I hereby recommend that Council approves these reports. Salute. Ons baie nie.
Thank you, Councillor Rafferty. We've also noted the issue of non-payment for ward committee members. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 55.6, 56.18, is this 1.8? Oh, 56.8, 57.10, 58.10, 59.3, and 60.7. Are the items agreed to? Thank you, councillors. Councillors, at this point, we are only going to deal with the items that has been elevated. That is items, let me just be sure. 82 items, 82 to 93. They are all also clustered, so we will then club together. So we will then now, and then also 94 to 99. Once we've concluded with this item, given the time, we will then adjourn. Thank you. Acting Secretary to Council, you may proceed.
We are on the elevated item 82, which is a performance assessment report for the Economic Development Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also read with item 83, which is a performance assessment report for Joburg Market for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also with 84, performance assessment report for the Metropolitan Trading Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also read with 85, with item 85, which is a performance assessment report for the Joburg Tourism Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also read with item 86, which is a performance assessment report for Joburg Property Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also with item 87, which is a performance assessment report for Economic Development Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also with item 18, which is a performance assessment report for Joburg Market for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also with item 89, which is a performance assessment report for the Metropolitan Trading Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also item 90, which is a performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Tourism Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also read with item 91, which is a performance assessment report for the Joburg Property Company for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also with item 92, which is an oversight report of the Economic Development Section 79 Committee on the 2022-23 first quarter performance assessment report of the Department of Economic Development, Johannesburg Property Company, Johannesburg Market, Metropolitan Trading Company, and Johannesburg Tourism for the period July to September 2022. And the above items read together with item 93, which is an oversight report of the Economic Development Section 79 Committee on the 2022-23 second quarter performance assessment report of the Department of Economic Development, Joburg Property Company, Joburg Market, Metropolitan Trading Company, and Johannesburg Tourism for the period October to December 2022.
Thank you, Acting Secretary to Council. Councillor Moepi.
It's supposed to be Councillor Telekwa.
My apologies, just give me a second, Councillor. There is some omission here that I have just noted. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, at this point, can I call the member in charge, Councillor Tongo? It seems you have erroneously been omitted from the list.
Chairperson, can I assist? Acting Chair, can I assist?
We are covered, we found it on the other page. Thank you, Councillor Low.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. Greeting to you, Acting Speaker of Council, Councillor Phillips. Greetings to the Executive Mayor, Councillor Tapelo Aka, A.K. Alostro Ahmad, members of the Mayoral Committee, Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, Chairperson of Section 79 Committees, the leader of AIC Caucus, Councillor Arnolds, fellow councillors, city manager, and officials of the city, and the residents of the city. Mr. Speaker, I rise to table item 82, performance assessment report for the Economic Development Department for the year 2020-2023, financial year for period July to September 2022, read together with item 83, item 84, item 85, item 86, item 87, item 88, item 89, item 90, item 91, read together with item 92, oversight report of the Economic Development Section 79 Committee on the 2022-23 first quarter performance assessment reports of the Department of Economic Development, Johannesburg Property Company, Johannesburg Market, Metropolitan Trading Company, and Johannesburg Tourism Company for the period July to September 2022. And item 93, performance assessment reports of the Department of Economic Development, second quarter performance assessment reports of the Department of Economic Development of Johannesburg Property Company, Johannesburg Market, Metropolitan Trading Company, and Johannesburg Tourism Company for the period July to September 2022 to be considered by this council. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mhlongo. Councillor Reddy.
Good evening, Acting Speaker. I give my 2 minutes to Councillor Dews.
Noted. Councillor Kwapeng.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to you, Speaker. Greetings to the Mayor of Joburg, Mr. Councillor Ahmad. Greetings to the leader of the ANC caucus, Councillor Dada Morero Usainyova. Greetings to the Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, and DCW, Councillor Brenda. Greetings to Ama Councillor Gatambo, Agwelela Ekhaya, City Saibambili. Greetings to fellow councillors. Greetings to the citizens of Johannesburg. We sitting here sober because we have seen what has happened in this department of DED. We had risky decisions that were taken, making sure that they collapse the economy of Johannesburg. When we were sitting on another side, ikhobers behamba to officials, making sure Guti they are suspended if they are not making sure Guti bahamba online was Cape Town. Please ngume them. Who's not even servicing Ikaelicha and the surrounding townships as a Cape Town. The GLU came in to save the citizens of Johannesburg because they understood Guti, somebody wants to collapse Johannesburg to make sure that Cape Town looks better. As Mazu, Guti, why is it every time abantu abafane fix Joburg, they are now suddenly wanting us to put other department insolvent? It means bayazi ukuthi bebayenzani. Sizohlala la ba collapse bazothengisa. Buildings have been taken. Khona omunye makagijima uthatha ama-building. Mawuthi uyabheka kulawo ma-building, Fabulous 44 iyagijima ngaphansi kwakhe. But these buildings have been
30
taken.
seconds.
These buildings have been taken to advance the companies of certain people. Sibabhekile, and we are sober. MMC of Johannesburg Economic Development City Koba, ungathathi Joburg siguma officially as phuzi whiskey tina sisoba. We know the report.
Thank you, Councillor Kopeng. Councillor Moepi.
All right, thank you. It's Councillor Telekwan. All right.
Councillor Telekwa.
Yes, thank you. All right, greetings, Acting Speaker, greetings to the 29 battalions, which include our caucus leader, Chair Sepetle Rasirute, and our Chief Whip, Tabisa, and two capable MMCs of the people. I rise on item 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, of which is a performance assessment report for Joburg or economic development. All right, my concern is it's more about the key performance indicators. I think they need to be robust and very clear because when you look at the reports of the OMFC, we need to really revisit them. Because when you talk about the performance objectives, which include quality work, availability, speed of services, dependability, flexibility, and cost of work, you'll understand why it's important to have proper KPIs. And we need objectives that are smart. Smart, I don't mean a word smart, which means sharp-witted individuals like us, the EFF brigade, which leads through superior logic. If you don't agree with what I've just said now, you saw on Monday what we've pulled through. We've shut down the country, the whole country. Some settler from Cape Town who support Nazism in Ukraine and Zionism in Israel tried to derail us by using untransformed courts. And we beat him to it. Yeah. And we had soldiers. We were able even to continue with our process with soldiers as if we were at war in Ukraine. On that note, Russia must finish this war as quick as possible. Good is winning over evil. Western Empire that is funding Action SA and DA must be burnt to ashes and thrown into the Antarctica Ocean. I took this from the late John F. Kennedy when he said, I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind. By that, I'm also coming to the smart weight because I haven't finished. On the back, on the smart bewilderment, SMART is a mnemonic acronym. That means giving a criteria to guide in the setting of goals, objectives that are meant to give the better results. Not the SMART, what you call SMART must be objective, goals must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And it must show that as Joburg, we're a smart city and we are able to deliver to our people. But before I sit down, I'd like to thank the EFF for showing the whole country that we love South Africa and we will always stand with them. The issues that they are having, we will attend to them decisively so. We are in charge. We are in charge. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lowe.
Chairperson, sorry, Acting Chair, sorry, good evening. Chairperson, before you count me in to my speech, may I just clarify an administrative aspect as the Section 79 DA whip, please, with regard to speaking time? May I just clarify?
We are already constrained by time, but I will grant you, I will indulge your request. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I've got 2 minutes. Councillor Vino already has 2 minutes, which he's allocating to Councillor David Hughes. I would like to allocate 1.5 minutes of my 2 minutes to Councillor Hughes. Councillor Nkomo would like to donate his 2 minutes to Councillor Hughes, as would Councillor Steer. So that Councillor Hughes ends up with 7.5 minutes, and I will be speaking for 30 seconds then, if that's in order.
Agreed. Please proceed. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you very much. So, just to be very clear, I'm going to be speaking about Johannesburg Tourism Company, which is a wholly owned entity of the city and funded accordingly. No reason exists for this entity to have been cleaved off from the Department of Economic Development, particularly because it is incapable of doing the work for which it exists. And the reason for this is that it has no website.
10 seconds.
It has had no website up and running for 3 years. And now, post-COVID, when we urgently need to remarket the city, we still have no website and we have no date as to when this is going to be
Councillor, your
finalized.
time has expired. Thank you so much, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thank you.
It's outrageous.
Thank you. Councillor Mlelo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Greetings to yourself, Acting Speaker, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Thapelo Ahmad, the Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, members of the Mayoral Committee, the City Manager, Mr. Brinks, our Leader of Caucus, Dada Murero, fellow councillors, the guests in the gallery, and all residents of the City of Johannesburg. I greet you. Speaker, I rise to table item 84, which is the performance assessment report for the Metropolitan Trading Company for the 2022-2023 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Speaker, the entity in question has had several issues in the first quarter under the administration of the multi-party government. It cannot be ignored, Speaker, that chairpersons of the entity notes reports but do not approve. There are still many vacancies that have not been filled to date, and that is due to the incompetency of the administration of the multi-party government. With the above mentioned, Speaker, the African National Congress notes the report with the concerns mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mlelo. Councillor Mbundu.
Good evening, Speaker. My 2.5 minutes will go to Councillor Chris Muhlala. Thanks.
Noted, thank you. Councillor Mbundu, there's Moatse on the list. There's no Mohlaba on the list.
Speaker, it's Chris Muhlala, Councillor Muhlala.
Not on the speakers list that I have here. I've got Councillor K. Moatse here, if that's who you're allocating your time to.
Speaker, then on the list that I've got here, I can see there's 2 speakers from Action SA. One is myself and one is Councillor Moatse. The request, Speaker, was that my 2.5 minutes will be done by Councillor Muhlala.
So basically you're replacing yourself for another different speaker, a completely different speaker. Remember, councillors, we make calls for speakers to the speakers list 24 hours before council. And it becomes a challenge when that does not occur. However, we still accommodate when necessary. But now we are having a situation where, Councillor Mbundu, you are asking us to allocate a whole new speaker in your space.
Speaker, there's a hand.
I have noticed the hand. We are still engaging. I need to understand what is your request. Okay, thank you. Please proceed, Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker. Apologies, Councillor Moache had to leave early due to family emergency, so Councillor Mutlatla will take over from him, and apologies for not informing you.
No, thank you. That was all that Councillor Mbundu had to say. Please proceed, Councillor. Well, I don't have your name here, but proceed, please.
Thank you, Speaker, and apologies for the inconvenience. Greetings to you, Acting Speaker, and greetings to our caucus leader, who's now a newly appointed chairperson of Gauteng, a place of gold, Komanza Funzela Ngobeni in absentia, and the fabulous 44, and the 6 million residents of the city of Johannesburg, and protocol observed. Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 83 to item 93, which are key performances reports for the Department of Economic Development for the 2022-2023 financial year period, July to September 2022. Speaker, first I would like to congratulate our former MMC for an excellent performance in the Economic Development Department to achieve a whole 77.8% on its performance. Indeed, Speaker.
Can you please take your seat? There's a hand. Councillor Ekio John.
Thanks, Acting Speaker. I just want clarity, please. I don't mean to be petty. You've just mentioned that the councillor is giving his time to different speaker. I just want to find out if that's based on your ruling or is it going to become a precedence now. Thank you.
Councillor, even my predecessors did that. And now I'm surprised you act like you don't know what is happening. Please proceed, Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker. As I was saying, Speaker, indeed, greatness is never free. It must be earned. By so doing, Speaker, former MMC Mbundu has earned his greatness by heading the department and performed his duties without fear or favor. As residents of Johannesburg, we thank you for an outstanding performance in excelling in your duties and responsibilities. Speaker, former MMC Mbundu has managed to advance the implementation of informal trade policy, a task team comprising of representatives of all city departments responsible in a place, and a permit system. Better vision developed and testing has started, but the current MMC is struggling to finalize and implement the policy. Just a bit, Speaker. He has strengthened the governance in across the portfolio. This includes making mandatory for MOEs to provide portfolio of evidence to support quarterly reports, a basic function you would expect any properly running business to do. But in the case of MOEs, this was not done before. This helped establish the sum of MOEs has been misrepresented, misrepresenting KPI achievements, resulting in incorrect reports served to council. Today, we can claim victory that the residents of the city are not shortchanged on service delivery. Speaker, the Joburg Tourism Company has overachieved on all their KPIs during his tenure. Joburg Market has managed to achieve 100% of their KPIs during his tenure. MTC is still plagued with operational performance. Revenue collection from departments is still very low. MMC Mbundu has managed to make the board to work hard to address these issues. Speaker, JPC still remains a challenge with an executive that did not account to the board nor the shareholder. Rather, this entity is still compromised by historical political interference. In fact, the chairperson of the board at JPC, in his Q2 report, the former chairperson of JPC recommended that the entity be put under administration. This was further tabled at the Section 79 Oversight Committee for consideration by Council. Further, under the guidance of the MMC, the former board of JPC was successful in returning to work employees that were illegally dismissed at JPC, but had won their award at the bargaining council. This was justice to many families who had lost their livelihoods as a result of victimization by a cruel leadership. Speaker, to the new MMC, as Action SA, we will monitor you on how you get those entities to meet their targets, as former MMC Mbundu has done in his past. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dews, you've got 7.5 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Acting Speaker, Mayor, the Executive, fellow councillors and residents of Johannesburg, all protocol observed. I rise to speak to item 91, the second quarter report on performance of Johannesburg Property Company. For the benefit of all, and as the previous councillor has alluded to, I'd like to read from the previous board chairperson's report. At the outset, JPC is beset with culture of intimidation, complete disregard in implementation of the board's decisions and resolutions, a management that undermines the authority of the board and seeks guidance from the city manager at the exclusion of the board. The management of the entity was suspended and facing disciplinary action for various transgressions, chief amongst them being the defiance of a lawful board resolution and execution of actions outside and beyond management delegations with the board's consent, without the board's consent of knowledge, and the Proton House payment of 27 million that is currently the subject of forensic investigation. The entity has been systematically broken down to ensure minimal response to service delivery, which cannot be allowed to fester any longer. The solution available to the shareholder is to address this malaise that is prevalent at JPC, is to place JPC under administration. The state of financial affairs for the JPC effectively renders the organization technically insolvent and can trace its origins to the non-performance of JPC collecting revenue in the city's property portfolio, including outdoor advertising. Once again, the core operating mandate of the organization. We would advise shareholders to place the company under administration, as the current levels of intimidation may result in the loss of life. According Accordingly, due to the current levels of intimidation culture that exists within the entity, this JPC midterm report submitted on behalf of the JPC Board of Directors with a disclaimer on many areas. Chairperson Advocate Brenda Madumisi. Speaker, these comments cannot
Councillor
and
Hughes,
must not.
Can I ask you to take your seat? There's a hand. Councillor, please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Councillor Hughes, the report that is reading is not in the reports. The forward that is reading is not in the report, Speaker. It has been removed, Speaker.
No, Councillor Hughes, you may proceed. This is a debate, Councillor, so if he makes references to whatever he makes references to in his debates, we have to allow. You may proceed, Councillor.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And for the previous councillor, if he read the report, he would have seen what I've just read was actually the report from the board member, the chairperson of the board. It was in the report. So, Acting Speaker, these comments cannot and must not be ignored by all those who occupy the seats in this House. The 2021 and 22 financial year, JPC only achieved 5 of the 15 KPIs representing 30% achievement of its performance targets, which remained the same in comparison to the 2020-2021 financial year. Judging by these dismal indicators, this year is looking to be their worst performance yet. Should this be unsatisfactory? Based on the repeated non-performance of the entity and the alarming comments made by the chairperson of the board, we as the Democratic Alliance and councillors in the Oversight Committee have requested that Johannesburg Property Company provides a comprehensive report indicating its turnaround strategy to counter its current insolvency status by June 2023. Should this be unsatisfactory to the committee must recommend that the entity be placed under administration. We also request that the committee recommend that the Johannesburg Company Board lodges an application against JPC directors for failing in their fiduciary duties in terms of the Companies Act. There is no doubt that the Joburg Property Company has failed in its mandate, which can be blatantly seen in the crumbling buildings most city staff are forced to work within, and the lack of facility management or renewed leases citywide, as well as the collapsed commercial outdoor advertising system and the lack of informal trade management. Let us not forget the SIU findings of financial misconduct against senior management during COVID, and yet remain in office. Despite this lack of service delivery and evident mismanagement, they continue to consume budget at a rapid rate with nothing to show for it. We will thus be demanding that a full forensic audit into JPC be initiated as a matter of urgency to uncover and stop the further erosion of Johannesburg. If the current mayor and his cohorts are serious about service delivery, they will implement this audit before being forced to do so. You do not fight corruption, Acting Speaker, by dismantling a board that put out the very report I've read and then re-employ people, well, let them come back to the city, of people that are currently under investigation. That is most definitely not the way you deal with corruption. We hope that the newly installed board will continue to demand and improve performance of the entity and
30
that they
seconds.
not be found complicit in their oversight. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jules. Councillor Mabuza.
Greetings again, Honorable Speaker, and special greetings again to the Mayor and our Chief Whip and Leader of Caucus, Comrade Dada Morero, and special greetings to the House at large. I rise on item 86, Performance Assessment Report for the City of Joburg Property Company for the period of financial year end, July to September 2022. Good people, when given an opportunity to lead, let's not play political games and expect opposite results, masquerading as demigods. How can an entity perform its mandate when the reports are not being signed? When administrative processes are constantly interfered with? Never interact with entity regarding programs that should be achieved. When positions are advertised, then it's interpreted as a corruption. The entity was frustrated, micromanaged. We are not going to shy away from the fact that the previous administration contributed immensely to the underperformance of the entity. And yet we have a nerve to come here and cry foul and play a blame game, gaming others, knowing very well that it is because of us. So the DA-led coalition, they must not come today and play a blame game, blaming the others, whilst when they had the opportunity, they did the opposite. Hence I say, don't play political games here. Do one thing and expect the opposite. That will not happen. That will not happen. You failed dismally when you were in control. But now that you are sitting on the opposite side of the bench, now you are acting as the demigod of this house. It will never happen.
20 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mabuza.
Acting Speaker.
Councillor Bolani.
Greeting Speaker and Leader of Caucus, Councillor Dada Morero. We know that all the reports that have been getting, there is no mention of the erstwhile MMC's trip to Germany. The trip was from the 9th and 13th of September 22. We would want a report as to the value added to the city in terms of his visit. So when does the cost-cutting measures affect us? We feel there is an element of Orwellian tendencies or animal farm situation when it comes to former MMC Mbundu or Councillor Mbundu's exceptionalism. We feel that there must be proper investigation because we can't let people misuse the city's coffers that we need for service delivery. Speaker, as the ANC, we feel it is very critical that we should fight and make sure that all MOCs under the Department of Economic Development should be capacitated by filling their vacancies and be fully resourced. It will be suicidal and reckless for us as the Council to put JPC, MTC, JTC under administration or liquidation without giving the new MMC of Economic Development new ports of all entities under the department for time and allow them to give us their plan on how they are going to turn these entities around. The department and entities should not be used as a fiefdom of individuals because Councillor Mbundu is the one who was sabotaging the very same department and entities by not signing reports. But now he's the one who's turning around and said these entities that just destroyed must be put under administration liquidation. I think it's about time that, as the city of Johannesburg, we should not put hyenas to look out for goats. and not expect them to consume
Councillor
them.
Bolani, please take your
Angibonge,
seat. There is
Speaker.
a hand. Please switch off your mic, Councillor, so that the next.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I rise on a point of personal explanation and would like to ask the Speaker to please explain to me what does the SIU actually investigate?
Councillor,
And
I thought
how
you were
does that
rising on
just
a
get
point
set
of
aside?
order.
Thank you.
For personal explanation and what the SIU investigates, there are many mechanisms where you can determine what that is. Yes, and I would extend that to all councillors. Please go and do your research on what the SIU does so that you do not have to direct the question to me. Thank you. Have we concluded? Has the last speaker concluded? Okay. Now, I think it's important also, Councillor Jews and fellow councillors, point of personal explanation is for you to better explain to us. That is how it is understood. Thank you so much. Thanks. MMC Mnisi?
No, Andis Vushaya, I'm covered by councillors. Acting Speaker, the Executive Mayor, the leader of ANC caucus, Councillor Dada Morero, the Chief Whip of Council, DCW of the ANC, MMCs, fellow councillors. Mr. Speaker, the performance reports of the quarter under review must be seen within the context of transition of the political change that happened in this council a month ago. Transition is a process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another. We all know that change is not easy. Change is painful. Political change is very, very brutal. We are here today considering the assessment reports of our predecessors. Unfortunately, we are successors in law. It means we are owning up to these reports because we don't have a choice. We now know what type of department we are inheriting, including its political problems that were or rather created deliberately. Councillor Kwapeng, we accept the advice to put the residents of Joburg first and not to interfere with the administration and threaten officials if they don't give us POQs. Councillor from the Action SA, your definition of greatness is really bizarre.
MMC, apologies to interrupt. Could you kindly speak through me and not address the MMCs or the speakers?
Noted, Speaker. Your definition of greatness is really bizarre. How do you give glory to a man who murdered an entity, JPC? This is the same man who did not sign the reports for the past 14 months. Then the nerve of coming here, grandstanding, misleading council with the intention and agenda to put the entity under administration will not be realized because there's a new sheriff in-house. Councillor Chusi, you spent a minute of your time misleading council as well. The forward, yes, the new sheriff is speaking. Can there be order in the house, Machola? You spent a minute of your time misleading the house,
MMC,
the council,
MMC,
on the forward that is not on the report.
MMC, kindly take your seat. There's a hand. Councillor Ekio Joko.
Well done.
Can you also just switch off the mic for the moment, MMC, please? Thank you.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, Acting Speaker, I know the MMC is passionate to explain herself, but can she please respect the House and speak through you and not address anybody in their personal capacity?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ekyo Zonjoko. I have indicated likewise to the MMC. MMC, please proceed.
The councillor spent a minute of his time misleading this House on the forward that I, as the MMC, I am not aware of. The report that I signed as the MMC, if you can just go to your Google, you will realize that that forward is not there. So you just wasted your time. You requested all your councillors that you are in the marriage with to
Again, MMC,
allocate
sorry to
their time to
disrupt.
you.
MMC, please speak through me. Inform me the MMC or the speaker has wasted his time. Please do not address the councillors directly. Speak through the presiding officer. Thank you. There's a hand. Proceed.
Sorry, Acting Speaker, I just need to make a point of clarity. The forward was in the document that was presented to Section 79.
That is not a point of order. That's not a point of order. Thank you so much. MMC, you may proceed.
So, Speaker, it is indeed true that there was an agenda to put this entity under administration. Now they realized that it's not going to be easy for them. Their dream will not be realized. In conclusion, Councillor, the marriage is over. You need to accept and speak the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC. That's MMC Mnisi. Member in charge, Councillor Mhlongo.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. You know, at the beginning of this sitting, there was a question that was asked directly to you, Speaker. I'm gonna repeat that question. What do you call a relationship between a horse and a horse rider? You know, the DA and its DA-like partner, the only thing that they know is to privatize everything under the sun of the Johannesburg, and that is not going to happen. We've got to remind them that this is Johannesburg, this is not Cape Town.
Councillor Mhlongo,
Speaker.
please take your seat. There's a hand. Councillor, is it Santana? Councillor Santana.
Thank you, Speaker. May I just remind this House that if we are trading recklessly, we'll be found wanting in terms of the Companies Act. So MMCs, I just want to let you know that if we're not going to be prudent in looking at our entities,
Councillor, that's not
we
the
have a
point
problem.
of order you are debating. Please
Thank
take your
you.
seat. Councillor Mhlongo, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Councillor
You can
Lowe, I
just-
do not take point of orders on point of orders. Please put your hand
You know
down.
the question
Please
has got
proceed.
an answer. The relation between them and the DA light is so simple. It's like the relation between the horse and the horse rider. Okay, Speaker, as I conclude, Speaker, I don't mind about the howlers. This Miss Ginger, I think she must just stop saying what to. I mean, she
No.
she wants a relevance. She wants relevance.
Councillor Mhlongo. Councillor Mhlongo, I will rule that out of order. There is no much gingers here in the council.
I withdraw, Speaker. I withdraw.
Thank you.
Yeah, but she's just calling point of orders that are irrelevant, Speaker. I mean, she's only the one who's always calling for point of orders that are not there.
There's a hand.
I withdraw unconditionally so.
Please take your seat. There's a hand. I have to acknowledge, councillors, I have to acknowledge hands when it is, when they raise their hands, because it is enshrined in our standing rules and orders of council. So let's not get frustrated when people are raising points of orders, even if it's frivolous. Sometimes it is meaningful and it has essence or substance, but we have to allow it. And I do know that you understand that, Councillor Mhlongo. Please proceed, Councillor Zonjoko.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. You know,
I don't like to stand up every time for a point of order. Can I please ask you to protect me, first of all?
Can we just keep the order, Councillor, so that we are able to hear the councillor that
Thank
is
you so
speaking?
much.
What is your point of order, Councillor?
My point of order is Councillor Mhlongo likening humans to a horse and a horse ride. I think this was ruled already before, even if it's a figure of speech. And Councillor Tefu was on the receiving end of it at the time. So can I please ask him to withdraw that?
Councillor, that is subjective. What you're referring to now is subjective, and I cannot rule on that. Please proceed, Councillor Mhlongo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Okay, in conclusion, Speaker, I would like to thank all the members of the committee, Section 79, together with the support staff, and also the new sheriff in town, the MMC, who is going to sweep there in the way that is supposed to be done, Chairperson, because the former MMC that is so that is being praised so much is the one that killed that entity, and we are going to make sure that that entity revives, and it will certify its KPIs, and it will make sure that all the entities under a department.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 82.3, 83.4, 84.4, 85.5, 86.16, and 92.5. And then again on pages 87.3, 88.4, 89.4, 90.4, 91.17, and 93.6. Are the items agreed to, councillors? Thank you, councillors.
Councillors, we're looking at our last quarterly consideration, which is item 94. It's a performance assessment report for the Group Finance Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022, read together with item 95, which is a performance assessment report for Group Information Communication Technology Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period July to September 2022. Also read with item 96, which is a performance assessment report of the Group Finance Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also read with item 97, a performance assessment report for the Group Information Communication Technology Department for the 2022-23 financial year for the period October to December 2022. Also read together with item 98, which is an oversight report of the Section 79 Finance Committee on the 2022-23 first quarter performance assessment report of the Group Finance Department and Group Information Communication Technology Department for the period July to September 2022. And the above items read together with item 99, which is an oversight report of the Section 79 Finance Committee on the 2022-23 second quarter performance assessment report of the Group Finance Department and Group Information Communication Technology Department for the period October to December 2022.
Thank you, Acting Secretary to Council. It is also important to note that according to the speakers list, there's a slight change. Councillor Sadabi has given her 4 minutes to Councillor Shea. If that's correct, can we confirm? Thank you so much. Okay. Member in charge, Councillor Sesedinyane.
Thank you, Speaker. The Chief Whip of Council,
Councillor Zungu, the leader of the ANC caucus, Councillor Dada Morero, members of the mayoral committee, and of course, as we welcome back the capable CM, Floyd Brink, that we must say that you are indeed a seat that refused to be buried. And further to take congratulations in absentia to Councillor Funzani Ngobeni after his appointment of leading in the province. Whilst, of course, we are still listening to a Bongani that is busy crying like a headless chicken somewhere. I rise to table item 90, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. The performance assessment report for the Group Finance Department for 2022-2023 financial year for period September 2022. The performance assessment report for the Group Information Communication Technology respectively. Oversight report for Section 79 Finance Committee on the first quarter and the second quarter respectively. As I table this report, wish to note the following, that under the performance of 4% against the budget, the service charges revenue is 9% below budget, whilst other revenue is 20% below budget. The city spent over 88%, which is 6.5 billion in city infrastructure against a budget of total of 7.4 billion in the city, to have failed to spend over 761 million in grants. Irregular expenditure for the year was recorded as 3.5 billion due to non-compliance and wasteful expenditure. Of 585.9 million as the unauthorized expenditure incurred during the period amounting to 1.3 billion. As I stand up and table this report for consideration by this council. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, MIC. Councillor Boer.
Acting Speaker, Executive Mayor, all fellow councillors, I raise on item 96, the performance assessment report for Group Finance for the second quarter, October to December 2022. We all know, and it is not a secret, that the city's finances are quite tight, to say the least. And some of those factors are factors totally out of our control. The main contributor here is load shedding that has got a huge impact on the billing capacity of the city. If we don't have electricity, we cannot bill electricity, we cannot collect money as well. And we see this in the group KPIs. Only 3 out of 7, 42.8% has been achieved in the second quarter. But some of those KPIs can be controlled by us as well, and I think we need to focus on the ones that we can control. Some of those KPIs are very much service related, call center related, where they cannot adhere to queries on billing, on account queries and so on, just because the mere fact that when load shedding kicks in, they don't have those battery backups to keep the computers going. Some of the rented premises don't have generator backups. Although we have a data center that is working 24/7, the call centers cannot assist the public, and that is something that we really need to pay attention to. Also, one of the things that we can control is our rising debt. Our debt is just rising and rising and rising. At the end of December, it was standing at 44.4 billion. And then it is scary to say that of that 44.4 billion, 22.9 billion is allocated to water. Only over 52% of the outstanding amount due to the city is due from customers owing water to council. And we all know every resident in the city is entitled to the 6,000 liters free water. But we really have to restrict the unlimited use and the unlimited increase of the debt to allow to run away to an amount of 22.9 billion. Our attorney collection program is starting to kick in again. Hopefully that will help to bring this figure down. But if the cash flow is under constraint and we are owed 44 billion, that is basically our collections for 3 quarters. That will take us to September next year. So we really need to get our collections going. On a positive side, the Zenzeli portal on eJohannesburg is increasing by the month, and that will probably also result in better collections. And then the last question is on the debt rehabilitation that ended June last year, that is 6 months ago, up until the end of December, only 6,800 of the 21,000 applications were approved. 8,400 are pending, and the rest was rejected.
Your time is expired.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Nkosi.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Greetings to our Speaker, greetings to caucus leaders, Petle Rasrute, and our Chief Whip, Tabisa Mukhapi, committed ground councillors of the mighty EFF, fellow councillors, and the public at large. It would be very rude of me not to mention the recent national shutdown led by the mighty EFF. People enjoyed uninterrupted electricity, the rate of crime drastically reduced, all because of the mighty EFF. In fact, this whole house, you owe us a standing ovation. We all went on a peaceful process. We got injured because of you. You stood there, cooked, watched TV. You played PlayStations. Your kids played PlayStations. It's thanks to the mighty EFF. Thank you. This action is a benchmark that must be used by the city to effect better service delivery by the city of Johannesburg residents. We are encouraged that the current administration is putting its priority of revenue collection as revenue collection in that it is a primary funding mode of the city. We would like to encourage the city to look into infrastructure development. Council must be reminded that the mighty EFF led a march to the previous mayor and handed it over to the mayor in the previous administration of DA-led coalition, and nothing was done. We appeal to the current mayor and to this administration to also prioritize this infrastructure development as it will augment and or improve our revenue collection. EFF notes the reports on item 94, 95, 96, and EFF approves the report on 97, 98, 99. Please give us a standing ovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was Councillor Nkosi. Councillor Gansho?
Greetings to the PC of Gauteng for Action SA and caucus leader Funzi Ngobeni in absentia. Greetings to the CMT of Action SA and greetings to the fabulous caucus. I rise on item 94, 95, 96, 97, and 98, and 99. On the 9th of March, the Finance Committee had an oversight visit to JD House to get a better understanding of its role in the overall functioning of the city. What was supposed to be an oversight from the entire Finance Committee turned into an Action SA oversight. Only 4 councillors were in attendance and 3 of them were from the only party capable of fixing South Africa, Action SA. We saw the server rooms, We saw the uninterrupted power storage rooms of the GICT servers that they use for load shedding. We saw the generators that are meant to act as a redundancy fail-safe for extended periods of load shedding. We saw the dozens of terabytes of hard drives for storing the cities and the residents' information. We saw the planned expansion of the operation and the plan to integrate all the department servers into one central department. The issue of the moratorium of hiring speaker is an issue. It's a very technical skill and needs constant upgrading and upskilling. The city has low retention of interns. And after being trained by GICT, due in part to the hiring moratorium, these interns tend to get headhunted by the private sector, and then we hire their services back through these same interns at exorbitant prices. We learned about the lengthy and delicate process required to shut down the servers and how load shedding poses an acute risk to GICT. GICT asks us to report the following to council. Like all departments, there is an issue of funding. The ongoing of leasing of other buildings when the city owns its own buildings that are vacant is an issue. GICT has been squeezed into the JD Houses parking lots where there are numerous city-owned properties that could be occupied. The officials of GICT have asked the council to consider exempting its officers from load shedding as a strategic key point. This would decrease the risk of a shutdown and prolong the lifespan of the equipment in question. On the issue of the free Wi-Fi rollout, if I can just say a bit about that, it was thought that creating a city-funded Wi-Fi hub would help residents from lower income areas gain access to the World Wide Web. This would help with queues, calls, inquiries, and complaints that the residents have. Instead of spending a day queuing, residents would be able to do their rates and bills at the comfort of their own homes or nearby. The officials have intimated to us that of the 900 Wi-Fi installment units that the city bought, only 30 have been actually installed and are operation. The rest of the 870 units are piled up to the ceiling in a makeshift storage area, gathering dust for 2 years now. The officials intimated to me that these 30 units cost the city 43 million rands to install. If we extrapolate that, it means it would cost the city 1.2 billion to install all the units that have been bought. In keeping with the mandated function of the Financial Committee, questions need to be asked about this Wi-Fi rollout plan. They are difficult questions, but necessary for anyone who cares about the financial health and longevity of the city. We need to distinguish between services that are nice to have and services that the city is legally mandated to deliver. What sense does it make to set aside money that isn't there for a project the city is not responsible for? Meanwhile, the service delivery backlog runs in the tens of billions throughout the departments. The city needs to develop or recruit smart, financially competent and responsible officers who will advise against what may not rise necessarily to UAFWE, but are ill-advised decisions all the same. For what it's worth, Speaker, this project is a noble one.
30 seconds.
And could conceivably help tens of thousands of people, but the city simply cannot afford it. I urge council to reconsider this project, but other than that, Action SA notes the reports, and good night, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shea, you've got 8 minutes.
Acting Speaker, on that pronunciation, I want to keep you. Good evening, Acting Speaker, to the DA caucus, and everyone else in this chamber, however they choose to identify themselves through action and policy. Before I begin, let me inform the comrades in this house that this speech is being streamed to YouTube. And if I speak too fast, you can all go watch it at home at whatever speed you want to. Additionally,
Councillor Shea, kindly take your seat. There's a hand. Councillor Koko.
Thank you.
What are you raising on, Councillor Koko?
On point of order of what, Councillor?
Councillor Sheikh. I don't know. Councillor Sheikh, what he said.
Proceed.
I just want to correct that, my figure. Me, I'm not his comrade, and I will never be his comrade. I never was, not now, forever, up until the end of this week. I'm not your comrade.
Take your seat. Councillor Shea, please proceed. And councillors, you know, we are really at the very end of a long day. Can we not raise our hands on frivolous issues at this point, please, unless it is really, really necessary? Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Additionally, in light of the interruptions into my last speech in Council, I request anyone who wants to frivolously interrupt this speech to keep as quiet as the MMC of Public Safety kept on Monday. Incompetence is often highly regarded in government circles. This statement is attributed to
Councillor
William...
Shea,
yes.
Please, can you take your seat? There's another hand. And I'm a bit concerned because it seems like you are coming off as provocative, you know, and that is going to create a problem for us. Please, can you just take control of that? Councillor, proceed, please.
No, thank you, Speaker. I'm rising on a point of privilege here. The speaker on the podium, he needs to withdraw. He has no right to call us comrade because he doesn't understand that. So please, can you please withdraw that?
Sit down.
Councillor, I cannot accede to that request. Largely because we don't know who he was referring to when he was saying comrades. So I cannot, and we have a situation where there are councillors calling themselves amongst themselves comrades. And now if we tend to now want to limit the word comrade to a certain group, I don't think that can be proper. So I cannot accede to that request. Councillor Shea, please proceed.
Incompetence is often highly regarded in government circles. This statement is attributed to William Wallace of Braveheart fame. Whilst I'm 100% sure that no one could ever explain Wi-Fi to William Wallace, he wouldn't be the least bit surprised when he read this report and saw that administrative staff have failed spectacularly at implementing a Wi-Fi rollout. Because in 700 years, it's apparent that incompetence is still highly associated with government. I must share with this chamber a moment of spectacular unity in the Section 79 Finance Committee. When we queried the progress of the Wi-Fi rollout, and the official present, who recently transferred from MTC, now he's from GRCT, he informed us without a hint of shame that there has been zero progress on the rollout. So naturally, the next question was, how do we change the situation? To which he replied, maybe get the two MMCs to come together and then we can find a way forward. We were all flabbergasted. Based on the response of this individual, we received an insight into his thinking. This individual was recently reinstated by council to an acting senior position, which earns him millions a year. But yet, he believes the onus of problem solving lies outside the realm of his responsibility. This culture, unfortunately, permeates the entire administration of the city, with few exceptions. The truth is that this attitude stems from a policy of the National Governing Party, a policy so vile and reprehensible that the Speaker of this chamber has banned the mere mentioning of its name. So from now on, we must simply refer to it as a policy that shall not be named. The policy that shall not be named has resulted in individuals being deployed to high-ranking positions in every department, in every sphere of government. The positions these individuals fill requires competence, problem-solving abilities, and most of all, a sense of responsibility. But alas, the individuals possess none of these qualities. As Orrin Woodward said, so succinctly puts it, the problem with incompetence is its inability to recognize itself. And it appears that this policy, the policy that shall not be named, shall continue to be implemented in this city. with the help of all the councillors on that side of the aisle. The MMC of GCSS even spent time defending the policy in council's last meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you to study the names of the individuals of the latest round of recruitment of Section 56 managers very carefully to view this policy. This policy that shall not be named has brought our country, our province, and our city to its knees. The few good men and women remaining have their hands full just trying to avoid a total calamity. And so it's inevitable that things like this Wi-Fi rollout fall through the cracks. It's within this framework that the multi-party government had to function. And therefore, every achievement, no matter how minor or seemingly insignificant, has to be recognized for the gargantuan effort it's required. We have to congratulate Councillor Dr. Mpopolati for her massive contribution to the city as Executive Mayor. We have to thank Councillor Michaelson for keeping the lights on, the water flowing, and the rubbish collected. We have to show our appreciation for Councillor Belinda Etiozonjoku for ensuring that development was allowed to continue in the city. And we have to praise Councillor Leah Knott for keeping the systems that run the city functional. And we have to behold the wonders that Councillor Judy Sotheby did to ensure the coffers of the city never dried up, despite the most overt sabotage. It is against the backdrop of a deeply troubled city that Councillor Sotheby wrestled the ICT department into achieving a 98% ICT uptime. Other achievements during this period include keeping the percentage spend of operating budget against the actual budget in range, and likewise with capital budget. Furthermore, during the period, GICT reported a 0% UIFW, which is no mean feat, as was getting a 67.85% reduction in internal audit findings against the quarterly target of 30%. Additionally, the department achieved 100% percentage implementation of strategic risk management action plan resolutions. In the finance department, the solvency ratio was within target. So was the capital as a percent of total operating expenditure. Net operating surplus margin was above target. All of these achievements can be attributed to the single-minded willpower of Councillor Judy Sotheby and her desire to see the city succeed. Now, just imagine how much more we could achieve if this city had a staff contingent who shared the same vision and competence as Councillor Sotheby and this DA caucus. The DA will always strive to see the city shine again and to hold those to account who fail to share the vision. We will continue to fight every day against the policy that shall not be named and the benefactors and deployees of this policy. We note this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Modupi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to forward my greetings to you, the mayor and the city manager. Also, in the interest of time, I will avoid making a litany of salutations, but I will just continue greeting my caucus leader, Councillor Tata Morero, a caucus leader of the African National Congress, the organization that offers practical solutions to the concrete problems of our society. This is an organization whose government on the 10th of December made an announcement that there was a strategy developed to deal with the matter of load shedding. And on the 22nd of January, they announced that by the 29th of March, the stages of load shedding would be brought down. However, we know that those who like to be opportunistic, on the 29th, they announced that they will be having the march on the 20th of March, having heard that the load shedding will be dealt with. Mr. Speaker, Well, as I have indicated, that we are an organization that offers practical solution to the concrete problems without necessarily adopting a populist gesture. I will continue and point out that revenue is a lifeblood of the municipality. Without it, the municipality will collapse. Speaker, from Q1 to Q2, we see the declining revenue collection from 12.5 billion to 12.23 billion, respectively. The concern is that this fall in the rate of revenue collection seem to be a common phenomenon in every second quarter of every financial year. This is so because second quarter, which is October, November, and December, is a period of a festive season, whereby the budgetary objectives of our Joburg citizens are shifting towards the entertainment and family gatherings. As you know that we are the product of the migrant labor system. So our people will save so that they go home to spend with their loved ones. However, since the previous administration failed to develop an effective revenue collection strategy for this quarter, I think this provides an opportune moment for the current administration under the stewardship of MMC of Finance, Councillor Data Morero, to introduce the strategy that will work effectively to collect revenue. We know that electricity and water services provides a huge bulk of revenue for the city. I think one of the measures that needs to be put in place, of course, we will be advising that there should be a contingency of field workers who will go out to teach our citizens in Johannesburg about the importance of paying the services, so that the city can be empowered to continue providing those services to them. Mr. Speaker, in this ways, the ANC notes the reports as tabled on item number 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and lastly, item number 99. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Modupi. MMC Morero.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me just give greetings to the Chief Whip of Council, to the Speaker of Council, the Chief Whip of Council, and all councillors, and of course leaders of different caucuses. I think, Speaker, let me just acknowledge the statements made by Councillor Bull. And the statements do confirm that, yes, indeed, the financial position of the city was left in a very bad state. And of course, we are now beginning a process to correct the finances of the city of Johannesburg, which includes, amongst others, in the last few weeks, we have now realized an increase in the daily collection. However, we were affected by the systems upgrade, which we had to close for about 14 days. We're only opening the system tomorrow. And this system should have been updated in September last year. But however, the government in charge at that time did not do what it was supposed to be done. So it then affected us in as far as collection was concerned. But it is also important to note that we have prioritized billing as an important area of ensuring that we correct the financial position of the city and we can bill correctly, and thus will be able to collect revenue. So we have now established a billing war room that's focusing purely on billing to ensure that we do bill correctly, and over and above that, also identify areas and stands that we're supposed to have been billing, but we are not billing. So that program, it's in place as we speak. We have also recognized that over and above the finances of the city, we have to put in place a system of raising capital, understanding that we're going to require new money and find ways of where we can raise new money to be able to fund even the budgets of the city. So we believe as it stands, our financial development plan will help us to resolve the current state of the finances of the city of Johannesburg. Perhaps, Speaker, I wouldn't comment on other matters that would have been raised, especially by Councillor Shai, in relation to Shay, Councillor Shay, sorry for mispronunciation, Councillor Shay. It shouldn't be a big issue, we can just correct it, where he speaks about incompetence, that we need to correct it and put it into proper context, that the 14 months and the quarters we are referring to here, we were not in government. So it is important, therefore, that it directs incompetence where it must be directed. We don't want to be throwing names, but he should be factual on his statements. And I think it is also important to note that senior management in Johannesburg are now free to exercise creativity. They are now free to contribute to the growth of the city without fearing any form of attacks from a political leadership that will constantly accuse them of corruption and incompetence. And once you are accused of corruption and incompetence, you tend to withdraw, which contributed to the 14th months of not being able to collect revenue in the city of Johannesburg. Because people do fear that they would have been attacked.
30 seconds.
And in fact, if you look at the record of last year, the 14 months I'm referring to, against our report from HR in terms of those that were suspended for trying to contribute towards the development of the city, you would realize the workforce was pushed in a corner and they were afraid to contribute to and exercise their full potential in as far as ensuring that the city succeeds. But we are now putting in place programs that will be appreciated by the staff. Thank you very much.
Expired. Thank you. Thank you, MMC. The member in charge, Councillor Sesedinyane.
Oh, the general in charge, madam. Thank you once more, Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to thank all members of our committee from all different political parties, all the support staff that have done the great work, and we really appreciate, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 94.5, 95.2, and 98.9 to 98.10, and on pages 96.5, 97.2, and 99.9. Other items agreed to? Thank you, councillors. On that note, let me express gratitude to all councillors for engaging in a harmonious manner during this council sitting. And I would like to request that that spirit of harmony prevails in this council going forward. And also, I think it is only proper to congratulate where congratulations are due. So, Councillor Ngobeni in absentia, congratulations on your appointment as the provincial chairperson of Action SA. And also to our city manager, Mr. Floyd Brink, congratulations on your appointment as city manager.
Speaker.
Councillors, on that note, this council is officially... Oh, there's a hand before I could adjourn. Please proceed, the hand.
Speaker, as Action SA, we recognize you as a new speaker. So that one can remain there in Swani, that one. Thank you, Speaker.
There's another hand.
Acting Speaker, I would like to address the issue of decorum in the House. Councillors standing while you were doing your closing, it's actually serious disrespect. The caucuses, can they please, can I be protected? The caucuses...
Please, councillors, this is a genuine point here. And I think it is deserving of our ear. Please proceed, MMC, because you are quite correct.
All caucuses, can they please be addressed on this matter? It is utter disrespect to rise and go and move out of your seat before a meeting of council is adjourned. This is the highest decision-making meeting of the city of Johannesburg. It's not directed to an individual, it's to everybody in this house.
Noted, councillor, noted. And thank you. I think that is in order. That is a genuine request, and if we can honor that, just out of respect for this council, I thank you. There's no one on the floor, so I don't know the point of order you're requesting. Councillors, this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you. Yes, one more announcement. No, you don't have to stay. You don't have to sit or be seated. There is grab-and-go packs for the councillors that would like to have something to eat. Please, you'll find it in the reception. Thank you.